Hello friends, welcome back to the Python programming session. In the earlier session, we had seen the pack method and the grid method in Geometry Manager. And in today, let's move ahead with the place method available in the Geometry Manager. So what is the place method? The place method in the Geometry Manager organizes the widgets by placing it in a specific position in the parent widget with the help of x and y coordinate system, where x and y are the horizontal offset and the vertical offset, and they are in pixels. So friends, in the pack method we had seen that we can place it on one particular side, that is top, left, right or bottom. And in the grid method, we saw the rows and columns. Based on rows and column values, we could place the widget on the screen. But in the place method, we can place the widget on the screen based on the x and y coordinates. We have all seen the x and y coordinates in mathematics. So the same concept is applied over here also. So the place method places the widget on the main screen with the help of x and y coordinates. X is the horizontal offset and y is the vertical offset, and the value which we specify for x and y are in pixels. So the syntax is widget.place and it has got many options. Some of them I've specified over here. Absolute positional parameters are x, y, height, width. X is the horizontal offset in pixels. Y is the vertical offset in pixels. Height is height of the widget in pixels. Width is width of the widget in pixels. So these four absolute positioning parameters are in pixels. Then comes the relative positioning parameters, where we have rel x, rel y, rel height, rel width. So here we have x, y, height, width. Here relative x, relative y, relative height and relative width. So all these parameters take value between 0.0 and 1.0. So rel x means it is the horizontal offset which takes a floating value between 0.0 and 1.0. So if I give 0.5, it is 50% of the horizontal offset of the main screen. And here rel y represents a floating value between 0.0 and 1.0 and it is the vertical offset. Rel height, if I give 0.5, then it takes 50% of the height of the parent window. And rel width, if I give 0.25, it takes 25% of the width of the parent widget. Since here we are considering the parent widget, it is relative to the width of the parent widget. So it becomes the relative height and relative width. So all these four are relative positioning parameters and these four are absolute positioning parameters. Now let's look into it practically. So firstly, let me copy this code. Okay. From tkinter import all win equal to tk. Then let's take in the geometry of the window. So it is win dot geometry equal to 50 pixels width and 50 pixels height. Then we are having a label widget called label1 equal to label, place it in the main window, text equal to label1, and then background color equal to red. So this is my label widget. Now I have to place it on the main screen. So label dot place method I am using, and here I am giving x equal to x equal to 20, y equal to 10, width is 120, height is 120. So x is 20, comma y equal to 10, width equal to 120, comma height equal to 120. And now let me say win dot main loop, call the main event loop. Now let me run the code. Sorry, it should be label 1. Run the code. So I get this particular label widget, which is at a offset, horizontal offset is 20. X is nothing but horizontal offset. So this particular offset is 20, y is 10. So this particular offset is 10. So leaving this particular space, it places my widget with a width of 120 pixels and height of 120 pixels. Because we are given width is 120, height is 120. So it will have a width of 120 pixels, height of 120 pixels, and horizontal offset of 20 pixels and vertical offset of 10 pixels. Now let's consider another label. Let's call it label 2. So it is label 2, and let me give the color as pink, and I want to place it at an offset of horizontal offset as 130 pixels, vertical offset for 140 pixels. So horizontal is 130, vertical is 140, and I don't give any width or height. So now when I run the code, let me close this. Now when I run the code, I get two labels called label 1, label 2. Label 2, since I have not given width or height, it is having it's the default width and height of the label. Here I had given width and height as 120 pixels, so it was of a bigger dimension. But label 2, it is of the default width, and x is 130 pixels. So this offset is 130 and this offset is 140. Vertical offset is 140 pixels and horizontal offset is 130 pixels. And then it places the label 2. Now let us add one more label onto the screen called label 3. Text is label 3. Background color is orange. And where should I place my widget? Let me place it at 180 pixels horizontal offset, vertical offset as 190 pixels. So it is 180, horizontal is 190. Now let me run the code. Let me close this window, and now let me run the code. So I get my orange label, that is label 3, which is 180 pixels. Horizontal offset is 180 pixels and vertical offset is 190 pixels. And this particular widget does not, it is the absolute positioning. It does not change with the change in the window size. It remains the same. So this was the label positioning. Now if I increase my window size, it does not move because it is horizontal positioning. Since it is horizontal positioning, the labels do not move along with the change in the window size. It is the absolute positioning of the widget on the screen. So with absolute positioning, we see that the labels do not move with the increase or decrease in the size of the window. So this was absolute positional parameters. Now let's move ahead with the relative positional parameters. So in this we get rel x, rel y, rel width and relative height. So let me remove these two labels. Label 1, let me give rel x, rel x, and let it should be a floating value because all relative parameters are a floating value. So 0.2, then I'm having rel y equal to 0.1, rel width 0.3, 0.3, and rel height, relative height equal to 0.4. So now when I run the code, let me close this window if it is opened. Okay, so now when I run the code, I get my label 1 as follows. So here what we have to observe is in the absolute positional parameters, that is x, y, width and height, the label was in a fixed position. It was not moving with the movement of the main screen. But in relative positioning parameters, this particular label 1 changes its size with the increase or decrease of the size of the main window. So now if I increase this, we see that the size of the label also changes. So it is relative. It is relative to the size of the main window. And now here rel x is 0.2. That is this offset value is 0.2. That is 20% of the horizontal width of the main window. So this is the main window. So it is 20% of the main window. Rel y is 0.1. So this is 10% of the height of the main window. And relative width is 0.3. So it occupies 30% of the width of the main window. The width of this widget occupies 30% of the width of the main window. And rel height is equal to 0.4. So it occupies 40% of the height of the main window, and it is relative. It keeps on changing with the change in the size of the window. So it is relative to the size of the main window. So this is the difference between the absolute parameters and the relative parameters. Absolute parameters, it does not change the shape or size of the widget, but in relative parameters, it changes the size based on the size of the main window. So we can observe that the label widget changes its size as the size of the main window changes. That is for relative positional parameters. And now with this, but let's see one more example with the same relative positional. Let me give it as 1.0 rel x, the maximum value. Here also 1.0. Sorry, not. Let me give my relative width and height as 1.0, 1.0, relative height also as 1.0. And now let me run the code. So it is a maximum. It has occupied the maximum width and the maximum height, because it spans from 0 to 1. So 1 is the maximum. So relative width is 100 and relative height also is 100. Now if I make it as 50, if I want to make it as 50%, so let me give it as 0.5 comma rel height is equal to 0.5. Now let me close this window. Let me run it again. So it is occupying, the size of the window is so much and it is occupying 50% of the width and 50% of the height. Now if I start increasing this size of the window, main window, even the widget size also increases. So as we keep on increasing or decreasing the main window, the widget size also increases or decreases. So it is relative. Here we see that it has occupied 50% of the width of the main window and 50% of the height of the main window. Now if I make it as 0.75, it will take 75% of the width and height of the main window. So now when I run this particular code, it has occupied 75% of the width and height of the main window. If I make it as 25%, 25, and run the code, it will take 25% of the width of the main window's width and height is 25% of the main window's height. So hope so friends, it was clear for you. The absolute positional parameters and the relative positional parameters. Hope so it was clear for you. So the absolute positional parameters are nothing but x, y. X is horizontal offset, y is vertical offset, height, height of the widget, width of the widget. All these are in pixels. Relative positional, rel x, rel y, rel height, rel width. All these are floating values from 0.0 to 1.0. Rel x is horizontal offset, rel y is vertical offset, rel height is height of the widget, rel width is the width of the widget. Hope so friends it is clear for you. If you have any doubts, please do reach to me out in the comment section. If you like my video, click on the like button and please do subscribe to get notifications of my new videos. Till then, see you. Bye bye.